Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. We are going to do, of course, for October, a gratitude focused practice. It'll be a bit of a longer practice and you might like to have some stuff with you. But before I start talking about the idea behind this and all of our various props and that kind of thing, please make this what you like. Take what you like, leave what you don't, modify anything, and that includes modifying our concept for the day. So if you are not in a very grateful mood, that's okay. We don't need to force gratitude. Actually, years ago, my opinion really changed about this, that somebody wrote an article about using gratitude to sidestep actually digesting our emotions. So something troubling happens to us and we go, oh, it's okay, I'm grateful for it. Next, and it's sort of like a form of gratitude denial. So I encourage you at any point you feel not grateful, not thankful, you notice that inner kind of struggle or resistance, we'll use a technique from meditation practice that's simply called mind noting. So if you notice that thought or that emotion come up, not feeling grateful, just note it in your mind. That's me not feeling grateful, or I don't have to feel grateful about that right now. Or maybe even, I'm not ready to feel grateful for that yet. So just note it, acknowledge it. You may like to write it down. And then we can continue with the practice, because our practice is more than just gratitude for today. It's a lot of different body movements. So what do we need for today? I already said, feel free. We'll do a meditation, but you might get more out of it if you write it instead. So we could always start with that. And since we are moving into cooler temperatures, you might like some kind of tea. I've chosen for today one of my favorite kinds of tea. It's called Warmth, and it's a mix of cinnamon and orange and a little bit of licorice to make it sweet. And it's my favorite. I feel like it's great for the autumn as we move into colder temperatures. We want warmth, don't we? And that cinnamon gives that nice kind of homey, comfortable feeling, and the orange and the licorice make it sweet and delicious. What else do I have? Okay, my mat, comfy clothing. I'm also going to put a blanket over top of my mat when we get down to our restorative practice at the end. Speaking of which, we have a bunch of cushions. So if you have proper like yoga bolsters, blocks, anything like that, feel free to use it. I thought for today, since we are looking at some cooler temperatures, I would pull out my more wintry cushions. You may be practicing this on a much warmer day in the future, but today it is cold, it is rainy, and I thought we needed something to sort of warm and brighten for today. Okay. What is our concept behind this class? So we're going to be working on, believe it or not, our heart chakra. This is our fourth chakra, and this is our ability to both give and receive, right? We can't be grateful if we're not receiving, and we can't share that gratitude if we are not giving. And there's also this idea that receiving taps into our feminine energy. And this is a greater problem in the world today, that we're all rewarded for giving, and we never take that time for our feminine energy. And doesn't matter what your gender is or your sex is, we all have this kind of concept, this metaphor of feminine energy that is receiving, softening, and cooling, which is what we're going to do in our practice today. You'll see that when we get into our stretches. And also our second chakra in and around our pelvis, that allows us to experience pleasure and enjoyment, right? It doesn't matter if we're totally cool with receiving things, but then we don't let ourselves enjoy them. Has anybody ever gotten a gift or saved something for a special day and then you never use it, and you finally go to use it and it's unusable? You've left it in the closet so long. So we're going to make sure that we receive and we enjoy in our practice today. Our second chakra is also about water and being in flow. So we'll do some round circular movements and flowing movements to lubricate our joints. We will also do some fiery kind of movements to warm our body before we cool our body. So we will be balanced in all of our chakras and both our masculine and feminine energy. Don't worry about a thing. I've got us balanced for today. Alrighty, we are gonna start lying on our backs. Here we go. Now, traditionally in yoga, we lie on our backs kind of like a starfish with our arms and legs wide, but you may be more comfortable if we lie on our backs or even our side with the knees bent. Occasionally, I have a yoga student who likes to lie on their stomach. That's okay too. But let's come into a position where we can be comfortable. So we can feel the body physically and energetically settle. So for today, I'm gonna choose a bent leg position. You may be happy, legs bent or straight. Sometimes it's nice to take one leg over the other. That can be more comfortable for our pelvis, our second chakra. Keeping with our theme of gratitude and our heart chakra, you may also like to cross the arms over your chest. And I would say, feel free to come back to this position at any time. It's also kind of a protective position. So sometimes in life, we want to live an open-hearted way, but we're not quite feeling safe yet, right? So we want to protect our hearts. If we are feeling really open-hearted, we can come into cactus arms, elbows bent to 90 degrees. And keep in mind that you can put your arms anywhere you like, but my last suggestion in keeping with our theme is simply to cross hands over heart. We will begin our practice with heart-focused breathing, so feel free to close your eyes. And we'll bring our awareness to not really our anatomical heart, our heart center, our energetic heart. So just behind the breastbone in the center of the chest, imagining that we could breathe into this space. You may like to picture the nurturing color green. And if you're not such a fan of this energetic or metaphoric style of breathing, we could borrow from our Pilates friends. We could call it thoracic breathing. Breathing into our rib cage, also called rib breathing, noticing the expansion of our ribs with each breath in, and a gentle release on each breath out. We can put our awareness into our literal heart. So maybe you notice how quickly your heart is beating or any other qualities of your heartbeat. So we have speed, rhythm, or tempo. You may feel that your heartbeat is really powerful. Maybe you feel that it's like a drum beat or more like a flowing river. So for a moment here, let's turn our attention to this heart-focused breathing. Noticing any physical sensations that go along with it, and maybe any thoughts or emotions that come up. We can stay where we are, but we may like to add on to this a hand on heart and a hand on our lower belly to connect our second and fourth chakra. So on our inhale, noticing the expansion of our heart center, of our rib cage. And with our exhale, drawing in our lower abdominal muscles. So sometimes people say, imagine that our hip bones in the front, we're pulling them towards one another. Or that we're using our abs to push the air out of our lungs. So we have this nice flow, inhaling fourth chakra, and exhaling from the second. And again, you may know this as a Pilates exercise or a fitness exercise. We inhale, feel our ribs expand. And exhale, we draw our abdominal muscles in. Maybe picturing the color green through our rib cage and the color orange through our pelvis. And I did not plan this. Yes, sort of like a pumpkin. Orange body, green top. Let's take a few more breaths here. Noticing this flow of energy and our deep internal strength in our core. And then we can release our hands anywhere that's comfortable. And take a moment here before we even begin moving, noticing something you're grateful for. Something in our lives that we're grateful for. Something in your body that you're grateful for. And then some deeper inner character trait that you're grateful for in yourself. And if we can't think of anything or we're not feeling grateful, just reminding ourselves that that's okay. To get into our pelvis, our second chakra flow, let's start to windshield wipe the knees. So we can plant the feet if they're not there already. And we're letting knees go side to side in a way that feels good. So it's not a very strict yoga pose. Sometimes it's referred to as a digestive movement. So we've done a lot of stillness. We want to digest that by moving. We could keep windshield wiping, or we can draw knees to chest, giving ourselves a big hug. Again, some kind of movement that feels good, maybe circling the ankles, pointing and flexing, wiggling our toes, bending and straightening the legs. We could do a big hug, bringing nose to knees to nose. We could take our knees in a circle or just sort of move around. And then what I always like to do is a nice long stretch, sort of like we've just woken up, it's first thing in the morning, stretching our arms one way and our legs the other, big reach. And then we'll begin to alternate a single knee to chest. Right or left, doesn't matter. We'll draw one leg in, holding behind our thigh. We can press the opposite leg down for stability. We'll give our leg a big hug, and it might feel good to do a little sway side to side, or to circle the knee. Any of these circling, flowing, or swaying movements, yes, they wake up our second chakra, our element of water, but they're also very good for our nervous system. They send the message that we can relax and feel maybe more centered, more at peace, more safe. All right, we'll switch sides. Other leg in. Our new extended leg, we can press down for stability. And then it might feel good to do a little sway, a little circle, maybe a big movement. And then we'll take our time, but we'll bank our way up to a child's pose. So again, you might like to do some kind of movement for yourself, maybe a little twist. And take your time, but we will press up and walk ourselves around so that you can see me pretty easily. So if you've never done child's pose before, we're resting our bodies back, again, in a comfortable fashion, just like our opening relaxation that we did. There's no one perfect way to do our child's pose. We're resting our hips towards our heels. And then our arms can be extended out front or maybe on the forearms. And now we can imagine that our heart has a back door and we are breathing into the back door of our heart. So if you like a more literal anatomical instruction, yes, we are still doing our rib breathing or thoracic breathing, feeling the expansion of our rib cage with each inhale. And we could still be drawing our abdominal muscles in with our exhale. Let's go ahead and make our way up to all fours. Now you may like to do this one if weight is on your wrists is uncomfortable. We could always do it standing or seated, but we're gonna do movements of our spine. So you can see, I could do it right here seated. You could do it sitting in a chair. I'll show us a pretty typical way on our hands. So if we are on our hands, let's spread our fingers out wide and put our body weight not just into the heel of the hand, but right out into our fingerprints as well, pressing down with each knuckle, giving ourselves some pretty solid stability in our hands. And then our feet, we can press them down as well to give us that same level of stability. And then let's go ahead and take our hearts for a little ride. So we're gonna reach our heart as far forward as we can. We'll take one more breath, a heart-focused breath here. And then we'll reverse. Let's take the back of our hearts up towards the sky. We can take a heart-focused breath again. And then go ahead and flow through at your own perfect pace. So we come into cow, lifting the chest, stretching the heart forward. We take a breath in. And then as we come into cat, doesn't matter if we're on all fours or we're seated, we're taking our hearts as far back as we can, stretching our backs, and we take a breath in again in cat pose. So let's go through this nice fluid flow, stretching our hearts front and back. And feel free to keep going with this front and back movement of our hearts. We may also like to open our hearts side to side. So a side cat here, it's sometimes called. We'll take a look over one shoulder, take a breath in, feel the expansion of your rib cage. And then we're coming back through center as we breathe out. Take a look over our other shoulder, and breathing into the side of the heart. And then we're coming back through center as we breathe out. Let's keep going a few times here, and if we are seated, same idea. We're stretching one side, and then the other. So it's really the movement about the rib cage or about the spine that we're concerned with, and then wherever we put our arms, it's just a different way to do it. Maybe we notice as we're moving, we can take a deeper breath. We're opening up our flexibility in our rib cage so our lungs can really expand. And if we feel that, that may be a wonderful thing. Maybe we're feeling thankful for that today. And now if you notice one side is tighter than the other, let's do an extra rep on that side. So I know my left side's feeling a little bit tighter today. I'm gonna do one more, stretching my tight left side. And we can come back through center. And if we would love a child's pose, we can take a child's pose here. We may simply like to just sit and pause. And we're noticing our heart-focused breathing. Maybe we're feeling a little bit more expanded in our rib cage now. And we'll take our time getting there. We are going to move into a standing position. If you love something like downward dog or forward fold, and you want to take some time pedaling out your down dog or wagging your tail in down dog, we can do that here. And in the next minute or so, let's start to make our way to a standing position. We may really enjoy folding over our legs. This is a really nice one if anyone is sitting in a chair. Nice passive forward fold. In a chair, we can just lay our belly on our thighs, same as we would standing. Nice deep knee bend so our thighs catch our torso. And then we take a breath in, noticing how it feels to have our breath expanding against our own body. So feeling our belly and ribs expanding against our thighs. And no rush to get there, but at some point we will come to standing, and when we get there, we can just circle sweep the arms and place hands on heart to come back to our heart-focused breathing. So at some point we'll all be at the top of our mats, hands on heart, turning our attention again towards heart center. All right, we're gonna move through flight of the bird. So we'll need some space to step backwards. So you may need to step forwards, but we'll be alternating a single step back. And let's go ahead and start like this. We're gonna start very slowly. We'll take just a short step back so we can get a stretch through the back of our heel. It doesn't matter right or left. We'll do one side and then the other. And now that we have our balance, let's see if we can take our hands, reaching back and squeezing our upper back for a variation of chest expansion. Just like our cow pose, we're reaching our hearts forward. Let's take one more breath here. And then we're stepping to the top of the mat, and we can switch sides. Opposite foot steps partway back. We'll get our balance, we'll get our posture, figuring out a way to get a stretch through that back heel, back ankle, back calf. We might have to do some adjustments. And then we're using the strength in our upper backs to reach behind us. And yes, of course, we can have something to help us with our balance. We may be placing a hand on a proper wall or a sturdy chair. The main idea, like I said, is that we're getting some movement of our torso, and our arms are a little bit more of an accessory, just different variations on the pose. Okay, let's take one more breath into our rib cage. We'll step up at the top, and we'll start to flow this with a different arm variation. So again, do whatever we need to do to figure out our posture, but we're gonna alternate a step back and then to the top of the mat. Inhaling as we step backwards. Exhaling as we step forwards. This is one of my favorites. Of course, if you have taken class with me a lot, I do this one a lot. So as we're alternating our steps back, let's go ahead and open into cactus arms. So we open elbows to 90 degrees, take a breath in, And then we exhale. For today, maybe our thumbs are touching heart center to remind us of our heart-focused breathing. So that's our pattern. Let's keep going through. Alternating right and left or left and right. Inhaling to open our hearts. Keeping in mind that maybe we're not feeling like we want to do a huge movement. Maybe we're giving ourselves a hug, protecting our hearts. And as we go and we feel warm, we might want to keep doing a bigger and bigger and bigger movement. Maybe we're feeling we're opening not just our hearts, but I don't know, hips. Maybe ankles are starting to feel warm. Maybe our body temperature is coming up. Maybe we don't have to work to focus on our hearts now because our hearts are really beating. And we'll keep going here. And as we do, you may like some different variations, right? So one that I really like is to open arms to a T position to stretch across the chest. Same idea, we open and inhale. And then exhale, we can bring thumbs to heart or cross in the center again. So we're listening to our own bodies here, finding our own way of doing this. There's no one right, perfect way. So just flow. Like our second chakra suggests, can we be in the flow? Keep flowing. We'll do a few more times on each side. Maybe noticing something that we're receiving here. Are we receiving the benefits of movement? Maybe receiving a clearer mind. And we can go once more each way, and then we'll meet at the top of the mat again. And then from the top of our mats, we're gonna step out wide. Again, another typical one for me, we'll do sun and moon flowers. If you haven't seen those before, maybe orient yourself in your space in a way that you can see me. So we've taken a big confident step out, like we're saying, watch out world, here I come. We are open across our heart and our second chakra. If you are maybe a little bit more timid in your posture, that's okay. We just don't want to drop so low for the safety of our knees. And then if we feel ourselves opening up and we want to drop quite low, we want that classic fitness alignment cue of our knee being over top of our ankle. If our feet are super close and our knees are going past our toes, not ideal for safety or efficiency for our muscles or our joints. If we're really tucked under in our pelvis, let's untuck the pelvis. So the top of our hip bones have to sort of rotate forward a little bit. If you notice that you're really slumped through your abs, if you look down and your shirt is all wrinkled, that's a good sign that we're slumping. So let's go ahead and lift the heart and untuck the tailbone until we're a bit more smooth and less squished through our abdominal region. All right, let's get into it. We'll inhale up, making our bodies like a 5-pointed star, and then exhaling, we'll come down into moonflowers. So it's not quite a straight up and down movement. We have to keep shifting that pelvis back a little bit at the bottom of the range of motion. So if I'm to go straight down, again, the knees are coming forward. And if I can shift my bum back a bit, my knees are staying over top of my ankles. I want heavy pelvis, moving back, light heart, lifting up and forward. Now we may like to add on. Again, we want to keep the length through the front of our shirts, but we can add a hip hinge here. This might give you a nicer stretch. So again, our heart is light and forward, and our pelvis is heavy and backward. It might help to take a look down. Are your knees over top of your ankles at the bottom range of motion? Sometimes we think we are, and then we take a look at our bodies and something really wonky is happening. We're kind of unaware of our limbs moving through space. That's okay, that's normal. In fact, it's very common, even for me after all these years of teaching. All right, we'll go a few more here. Let's come up to the top of the 5-pointed star. Nice big stretch up and out. And then we'll take our arms to parallel with the floor, and we'll pull our thumbs back. You might like to stay in this bent position, getting a bit more challenge out of it. That's okay. But our focus is on, again, the back of our heart. We want to really squeeze the back of our hearts to build strength, and that'll help to give us the openness in the front of our hearts. If it feels good, we can draw hands towards one another or interlace. Lifting hearts up, keeping the heart forward. If you decide to fold forward, let's keep the heart going forward. This same tip about not getting a million wrinkles slouching through the front of our shirts. Want to keep it smooth if we decide to add this to our forward fold. So we're coming part way down with a flat back. So we're working some strength in our core, upper back, mid back, low back, abs, a little bit of stretch across the chest and the front of the shoulders, and definitely stretch through the back of the legs. You might feel it in your inner thighs. Let's take another breath into the rib cage here, stretching the heart forward. We'll use our strength to come back up to standing. And let's come open in our toes again. We'll do a couple more long stretches. Let's stretch the side of the waist again. So we can take one hand down, one hand up and over. Legs can be straight or bent, yogi's choice. So we're starting to kind of cool down some of our movements. Moving into our softening and stretching. We can switch sides. Opening the opposite side of the heart. And let's bring ourselves back up to the top of our mats. Here we go. We'll step it forward, and we will begin to make our way down to the floor, but let's start with a forward fold. So we're gonna take a big reach up, and then as we fold forward, again, we're sending hearts forward and pelvis back. Balance between our second and fourth chakra, and then once we get down there, we can do quite a deep knee bend so that our bellies rest on our thighs so we can catch ourselves. Sometimes it feels nice to have the support of our own bodies against our bodies. We can be holding our elbows. We can give our heads a gentle shake. We can sway side to side, and I like to imagine that this pose helps me to relieve some of the weight of the world that's on my shoulders. Might feel nice to take a breath in through the nose and what we used to call on the playground horse lips, blow through your lips like a horse. Relieving some of the stress in the face, in the jaw, or like we're blowing through a straw. And then once more, we can make our way back through maybe downward facing dog or child's pose. Letting some free flowing, or like I called it before, digestive movements in. So we can do something that helps us feel that we are digesting what we already did. And then we'll start to set ourselves up for our more gentle, relaxing poses. So take your time. I'm gonna put a blanket down and let's be sure we have a couple cushions. And we're actually gonna start with supported child. So you may think you like child's already, we'll add a couple more cushions. You might like a sweater, socks, a quick drink from your hot beverage, whatever it may be, and then let's come back to our mats. So let's get some cushions for our supported child's pose. We'll take a couple of cushions, or depending on how big your cushions are, between our hamstring and our calf so that we don't have such a tight angle on our knee. And then the other one is gonna catch, you might like it under your forehead, depending on how thick your bolster is, under your chest or even under your arms. But rather than being at our fullest stretchy range of motion, it's gonna pull us just back from that. So when we're in our fullest range of motion, our muscles are still kind of tight, like an elastic band. And when we come just out of that, you see how the elastic band can release. So when we do our stretches, it's good for us. We want to get that range of motion stretching the elastic band. But here, we're looking for release. So we're gonna pull back, imagine that elastic band going slack, also very beneficial for the body. So let's see how we can figure this out. I'm gonna estimate where one is gonna catch my forehead. And I think I'm gonna use 2 behind my knees, which takes a little figuring out. And then since we are going to be so comfortable, we can stay here a little longer than we normally would. So we'll stay about a minute. And I think I'm gonna go for a higher height to catch me. And once we're there, we might wanna turn the head one side or the other, and we can just completely settle in. You can see it takes a minute to kind of figure out my props and get settled. And then we can come back, of course, to our heart-focused breathing, noticing what we're feeling grateful for in this moment, or simply just releasing. And if we're here for a little while, we might want to tweak it out or move, somehow change the pose, that's okay. Now, I always like to say, if you feel like you're comfortable enough to fall asleep here, feel free to stay there. Otherwise, I'll give us a couple more options for different poses. So we'll come to lie on our backs, and we'll do one first to open up our second chakra, and then one to open up our fourth chakra. So, if we're coming to lie on our backs, we want something to catch our knees, sort of like our butterfly pose, but we're gonna lie all the way back. So let's sort of guess how many cushions we need to catch our knees as they open out. You might, like me, feel like there's a lot of tension in this position. If we again support the knees higher, that tension hopefully dissolves, and then maybe we'll feel like we're almost comfortable enough to fall asleep. So I only have 2 cushions, so I'm going to put 2 on each side. You may have more or bigger cushions. I'm going to put them kind of beside my pelvis and estimate that when I lie down, they will catch my knees. And then I'll offer us a version of what I call diamond pose. So our legs are in a diamond, and we can put our hands in a diamond as well. You may like your hands behind your head or just above the head. And like we've been doing, we can come to our heart-focused breathing. You may prefer to imagine that you're breathing into your second chakra, noticing that flow of breath as it drops deep into the belly. Feeling maybe some movement of the belly. We could always take our hands to where we feel the most literal movement or less literal energy moving. So maybe you're just feeling very aware of a certain area of the body. We can always place our hands there. And then once we're ready to settle in, we just breathe. Again, feel free to stay here as long as you like. Otherwise, I'll offer us a twist, and I will lead us through right or left this time through. So the easy way would be to just let the knees knock over to the left side, and then we're there. We have our support. You might want to adjust the cushions. You might like to move your arms into a different position. If we want a bigger range of motion, here's what we're going to do. We're going to straighten the left leg out, press down through the right foot to help us come onto the side of the pelvis as we twist. And then our cushions are going to catch our bent leg. Our arms may be coming to T. We might like to have our left hand on top of the outside of our right thigh. And if we can reach our cushions that were just holding our knee, we could even pull them up behind us to support our back. Might actually even like a cushion under the head. And again, we'll hang out for a minute. So we have some twist in our spines here, or rotation. Might like to have a little rocking movement if stillness doesn't feel so good. Rocking in and out of the pose, maybe planting the right foot again. This might feel a lot better, a lot safer for the body to help us ease into our twist. We might like to imagine that we are twisting through our second and fourth chakras. And we're definitely twisting through our spine. Twists are generally recommended as healthy spinal movement. We'll go ahead and make our way to the other side. So we might like to start from diamond position again. And we could just let the knees knock to the right hand side. If we want a bigger range of motion, we're going to go ahead and straighten the right leg. Press down through the left foot, so we're lifting the pelvis and coming onto the right side of the pelvis. So you know those cell phone pockets we have on the side of our yoga pants these days? We're coming on to that side pocket. And then we can guide the knee across. Maybe readjusting our cushions, readjusting our arms, imagining that we are twisting our chakras, and then we settle in and enjoy letting gravity do as much of the work here as possible. Again, we have that option to rock in and out. When we're ready to come out, again, take your time, but we might like another kind of digestive movement. So we've just twisted and kind of compressed the body. So we might like something to open the body, nice big long stretch or lying on our backs. You may again like to take knees to chest. I sometimes like a bridge pose because we do so much work folding the body forward. Nice to do some work to open the front of the hips. And I will show us how to set up for one more supported pose. Okay, here we go. No rush, but we do need to sit up. And we kind of need to figure out how much back bending we want. So we'll do a variation of fish that's supported, but it is a back bend. So generally, and you can actually do this when you go to bed at night, placing your regular head pillow lengthwise along your spine instead. So I'm kind of estimating how much support I want under my head, how much support I want under my back. And traditionally, fish pose puts us into a really deep back bend. If you love fish pose, no reason why you can't, but we want something underneath us to support us in a more gentle version of this back bend. So once we lie down, you might think, oh, I feel like my head is like Pez candy, like just gonna pop off, you might like another cushion underneath your head, or you might like more back bending or more support under some area or another. The tricky thing about this one is that generally it's easiest to roll to the side to come out of it. And it does take some core strength to lean our way back into it. So I think I'm gonna go for 3 cushions today. A little bit of support for my low back, a lot of support under my upper back, and then something to catch my head behind me. This is usually a fan favorite, but I have the odd client who as soon as they lie back, their back is on fire. So if that's you, you may prefer simply to just lie on your back, again in that kind of diamond position in our arms, and that'll still give you that same sensation of opening without being such a huge range of motion. Everybody's back has a different amount of back bending, so don't be shy if you don't have that much back bending. And then some of us may also like to have something under the knees so that our knees aren't locked out when we lie down. And yes, you could do this when you go to sleep at night. 1 pillow under your knees and then 1 pillow under the length of your spine. Okay, if you're there already, perfect. Easing our way back so we feel just the right amount of support, not too much, not too little. And then what do we do with our arms? We could come back to heart or heart and pelvis, or we may simply like to let the arms hang. And let's notice what's going on in our bodies here. Are we tapping into these feminine qualities of cooling? In contrast to the warming that we did. Are we softening in contrast to the muscular work that we started with? And are we receiving rather than doing, or giving? Can we simply just be receiving the benefits of supported fish pose? And we may like to do our heart-focused breathing, or imagining again that the breath is dropping into the pelvis. Or we may like to count our breath to keep our minds focused. Inhaling, 1, 2, 3, and exhaling, 3, 2, 1. Going at your own perfect pace, picking really any number that you like. Now you may love this pose, it's your favorite pose, your back is happy, but keep in mind that this one can be a lot, so we may need another digestive position. Simply rolling onto the left side, it's supposed to be easier on our heart, coming into baby pose. And maybe we can reach to use one of our pillows in baby pose. So yogi's choice, we can stay in our supported fish, but at any time we can roll into baby pose, giving our hearts a rest. And of course, at any point, we could move all the bolsters out of the way and come to lie on our backs or sit in a chair. We are moving towards our final relaxation. And we'll finish with a loving kindness meditation and a gratitude practice. So yes, this is an open-hearted practice. Like I said, we may like to stay in supported fish. We may like to give ourselves a hug. We may like to place hands on heart. Wherever you are, let's move into that position for our final relaxation. I'll stay seated so that I don't fall asleep. Some of you may prefer to do this as our writing exercise. And if we're not there already, let's come back to our hearts, noticing the quality of our speed of breath, focusing on heart center. And can we notice any qualities of our heartbeat? Slow and steady. Fast and strong. Maybe it's feeling jumpy, kicky, flowy, whatever it may be. Just noticing. And let's keep our attention on ourselves in what I sometimes think is the most difficult part of a loving kindness meditation. Let's send loving kindness towards ourselves. Repeating these phrases or some variation on them. May I be happy. May I feel peaceful. May I live with ease. May I have a smile on my face and a song in my heart. May I be filled with loving kindness. Noticing how we're feeling, even if you don't quite feel all of those statements to be true in your heart or mind. Just acknowledging that and noticing that that's okay. And let's turn our attention to someone who, for you today, it feels pretty easy to send this person loving thoughts. Some days this is also a very difficult task. I think it helps to know that you can pick any person from present or past. This can be extended to pets that we love or have loved, or sometimes figures in the media that we have admiration or respect for. And when someone comes to mind, sending similar sorts of phrases. May you be happy. May you feel peaceful. May you live with ease. May you have a song in your heart and a smile on your face. May you be filled with loving kindness. And maybe noticing the difference between the feeling of receiving our thoughts and warm wishes for ourselves compared to the feeling of giving thoughts and warm wishes for another. And there's no right or wrong way to feel. We're just practicing our awareness. Turning our attention now towards someone who we have more difficulty with, someone that maybe we have feelings of loving kindness towards them, but generally we have difficulty having positive feelings for this person. It may be someone that you know, or someone you spend a lot of time obsessing about, or it may even be a part of yourself that you're having trouble loving. Picking this person out in our minds, and then extending the same kinds of thoughts, even if we don't really feel all the warmth and love that the words express. Knowing that we're not forcing ourselves, we can change the words if we need to. May you be happy. May you feel peaceful. May you live with ease. May you have a song in your heart and a smile on your face. May you be filled with loving kindness. Taking time to notice here how you're feeling, and also to acknowledge that you don't have to like this person, and you don't have to violate any of your personal boundaries. In fact, you may never see this person ever again. But we can still see them as a human being. And maybe if all of these things were true about them, that they were happy and peaceful, they'd be easier to deal with. And then turning our attention towards what is traditionally thought of as the most important step, picking out someone who you don't really know, someone who you have no feelings for one way or another. We call this the neutral person. So this may be someone that lives in your neighborhood but you've never spoken to, someone that you pass in the hall at school or work. Maybe you don't know their name. Often this is the coffee barista or the grocery store clerk. And it's important to notice that we don't feel one way or another for them, but regardless, we can still offer these same warm wishes. Finding this person in our minds and extending our phrases. May you be happy. May you feel peaceful. May you live with ease. May you have a song in your heart and a smile on your face. May you be filled with loving kindness. And now let's open our hearts to take in all beings everywhere. People everywhere, animals everywhere. You could even include the plant kingdom or inanimate objects like rocks and oceans. And let's send these same well wishes out there. May all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings everywhere feel peaceful. May all beings everywhere live with ease. May all beings everywhere have a song in their heart and a smile on their face. May all beings everywhere be filled with loving kindness, and may my actions somehow contribute to this. And we can keep our hearts open, but let's switch into feelings of receiving, noting in our minds things that we're grateful for now. So like I said, you may like to write any of these. You may also like to keep a list of things that you are not feeling grateful for, knowing that that's part of the digestion process. This is how we work through difficult emotions, is by acknowledging them, not pushing them away. But let's see if we can notice how we're feeling now. And maybe you can pick out a feeling that you are grateful for, keeping in mind our fourth chakra allows us to receive, and our second chakra allows us to feel the enjoyment. We are receiving and enjoying. The opposite would be rejection and feelings of guilt or shame. So if you notice those feelings come up, totally natural, but let's see if we can allow ourselves to soften into receptivity and feeling good. Scanning our bodies, feeling grateful for a physical feeling that you've created in yourself. Noticing our thoughts and feelings, feeling grateful or thankful for a thought, a feeling, an emotion that's feeling good right now. Or maybe it's not feeling good, but it's feeling beneficial, something we can extend those grateful feelings to. And extending your awareness to something that's happened to you recently that you're feeling pretty grateful for, happy about, thankful for, whatever word feels right. It doesn't always have to be grateful. It could be something that you love, that you enjoy, that you're happy about. Maybe you're feeling sympathetic joy, you're happy for somebody else about something. Maybe it's giving you that warm, fuzzy feeling that someone you know had something good happen to them. You can note that in your mind too. And just as important as gratitude, maybe you've seen someone being kind to someone else recently. It could be you and someone else, or it could be two other people. And again, it could be people you don't even know, or it could be people who you know quite closely. Doesn't matter. Thinking back in your mind, have you seen acts of kindness recently? Studies have shown that both remembering acts of kindness and remembering gratitude are incredibly good for your heart, your health, your emotions, insomnia, stress levels, all sorts of things. So even if we're not feeling grateful, we can always remember, when was the last time I saw someone being kind to someone else? And once more, if our hands aren't there already, we might want to give ourselves a big hug. Expressing gratitude for the kindness that you have shown yourself, for carving out this time in your busy life, getting it together to do a yoga practice, and doing something beneficial for your body. Something beneficial for your mind, your emotions, your nervous system, your chakras, and our heart and our breath. From wherever we are, we can take hands over our hearts or hands to heart center. Thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with me. I'm very grateful that you have taken the time to watch this. And from my light to yours, namaste.